Hello, my name is Sarah. Welcome to the It is a Sarah podcast. Today it is Monday, February 17, 2025, and in this episode I want to share my handwerk perikelen, that's Dutch for crafty adventures, from last week with you. I'm coming to you from the Netherlands, so excuse my Dutchy English. I love to knit, I love to crochet, and I love to talk, so that's the perfect combination for making this podcast. I make my episodes in Dutch and in English, so be sure you pick the right one. Okay, I have a lot of fun things to share today. I am really knitting, mainly knitting, a little bit crochet, but I'm really spending a lot of time knitting and I'm making all the projects. I'm having so much fun and that's really nice. All the projects are flying off my needles. And today I want to share a little bit more details about this one, my Bubblelicious sweater, or actually it's not my Bubblelicious sweater, but my daughter's Bubblelicious sweater. I knitted her. I will tell you all about it later this episode. I want to start with what I'm wearing, but because I am wearing my Syli cardigan. I finished it quite recently in December 2024, and it's really my favorite cardigan at the moment. I live in this cardigan. It's such a lovely knitted garment you can wear all the time. It is the Syli cardigan by Leeni pattern, and I use it as an indoor cardigan, as an outdoor cardigan. Even it's quite cold right now. It's light and bright outside, but it is quite cold. But it's enough for me, covered with a shawl and my balaclava, that thing that you can put in your neck, balaclava, and some fingerless mittens, and then I'm absolutely warm enough to go outside without a jacket. But it's not really cold in the Netherlands, of course, but I'm wearing it inside and outside all the time, and it's really a comfortable cardigan. It is a top-down raglan pattern, and I told you all about it a few episodes ago, but I didn't knit the original pattern because it has a broken rib stitch and my yarn was already changing. There was happening a lot color-wise, so also adding a broken rib stitch, it would be too much. So I just knitted plain stockinette, and I'm really happy I did. But this morning I thought, how much fun it would be if I would knit myself another cardigan, because how happy this cardigan makes me while I am wearing it. It was not making me very happy while knitting. Now that sounds a bit dramatic. It is actually, it was a boring knit. It was a lovely knit, but a boring knit. And I need boring knits in my life too. But it's very important that there are not only boring knits on my needles, because then I get bored. Boring knits are perfect for in between a few rows, or while you are chatting or doing other things, having a phone call, watching something on television, doesn't matter. But I make slow progress on my boring knits. And the exciting things with colorwork or cables or whatever, they are happening the rest of the day. But the boring knits, they also need some growing time. So I thought, if I cast on a second Syli cardigan, which might be a little less boring because of the broken rib stitch, little less, when I cast it on now, I might have a finished cardigan in autumn. So September, October, November, it might be finished. It is a long cardigan, as you can see, and that makes it boring. It is a top-down raglan, and when you are knitting raglan, there is happening something every now and then, and yeah, that's exciting enough for me. But when you finish the raglan, it's just knitting back and forth all the time. Endless, and that's okay. But yeah, slow progress. Most of the time when I cast on something, I immediately want to wear it. I found some good yarn in my yarn stash. This is a bag filled with Let Lopi in a very autumn color, autumnally, do you say it like that? It's a bit of a rusty brown. And I thought that it would be the perfect color to make a broken rib stitch Syli cardigan. I don't have as much yarn from this color as I had from this one. I did weigh my cardigan and it was 570 grams, and I have 10 balls, 10 50-gram balls of this color, so that makes 500 gram. And I don't know, I think I might have played with it because some of them, oh no, I think I already know. I used them for making pictures. Now, I think they are complete. So I have 500 grams, and that it might be a little bit shorter, the cardigan in this one, because I don't want to buy extra. I will make my sleeves a little more fitted. I really love fitted sleeves, and this one has quite wide sleeves. As you can see, and one moment I'm very happy with that because I can wear a sweater under it and it's a perfect throw over layer. And sometimes I think, it looks a bit more like me when it's a little bit more fitted. So I thought I can make my second Syli cardigan a little bit more fitted with leaving some raglan stitches, not knitting them, and then the sleeves will be more fitted, so I need less yarn, so I think we are good. So I might cast this on this week. I don't love knitting with lead loopy in summer, but yeah, I think it would be fun to just have it in a project bag next to my knitting spots to grab it. Maybe I need to put it in a basket so I can pick it up even more easy. Opening a project bag is quite a job. Yeah. Now the chance is bigger that a knitting project, when it's not in your sight, it's hibernating maybe even longer when it's open in a nice basket. We shall see. I'm also wearing a finished object, a fresh one, and this is my Hobbiton vest. It was my cast on 2 or maybe 3 weeks ago, absolute a hormonal cast on. Hormones were rushing through my body. It was quite intense and unexpected, but I really needed to cast on a Hobbiton vest, and I did, and that was really fun to just do it. It's very important to follow your hormones, I guess. It really made me happy, and I want to share all the details because I did some things different and it's not perfect, and I want to share those details with you. But before I will deep dive into that, I will update my knitting book. I will take some measurements and weigh my garment and all the things, so I can tell you all the details very proper. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, time to share all the details about my latest finished object, the Hobbiton vest. I think I shared it before, but the word vest is a little bit confusing to me because in Dutch we call a cardigan a vest. And we don't use the word vest for these kinds of garments. We call it spencer or sleeveless sweater, I guess, but not a vest. But yeah, it's actually quite funny. This is the Hobbiton vest. It's a pattern by Fabel Knitwear. It was the first time I knitted a design from Fabel Knitwear. I don't know the designer actually, but I did see the Hobbiton vest as well online as offline on some of my knitting friends. They made 1 or 2, maybe 3, I don't know. And they are all very happy with their Hobbiton. So every time I saw one, I felt the need to add a Hobbiton to my wardrobe too. But it never happened until 2 weeks ago, maybe 28th of January. Oh, it's longer. 3 weeks ago, I really wanted to cast on one. It was a hormonal cast on, as I said, and I was actually quite surprised when I bought the pattern, when I saw the amount of yarn you need for a little Hobbiton. It is a small garment. It is a cropped vest which you can wear on skirts, at skirts or dresses. It's a little bit based on, yeah, it looks like the 50s style, and it has also a link, of course, with the Lord of the Rings, of the Hobbits. It's all in the description, but I didn't read that, I guess. But the amount of yarn surprised me in a good way, because the original design is knitted in 1 strand of fingering weight, held together with 1 strand of mohair, a lace weight, and you don't need much yarn. So I checked, and I discovered that I could knit a Hobbiton vest in my size with 2 skeins of fingering weight sock yarn. Most of the time they are in 100 grams, and I would have enough. And I have several pairs of 2 skeins sock yarn, not specific sock yarn, but hand-dyed yarn, and I can use them for socks, but it's way too much. And I can use a garment, I can knit a garment in 1 strand of fingering weight, but I am not very happy. I did knit some tops for summer in 1 strand of fingering weight, and I love wearing them. They are very light and very thin, but they took endless time to knit. And that's, yeah, when you can hold your yarn double, it grows quicker. And especially in this time of the year, the really thin layers are nice for summer, but now I can have a thicker layer. So I was really surprised by the idea that I could use my 2 skeins for such a small, tiny garment. A lot of opportunities. But I was not in the mood to wind yarn. I don't know if you know that, when you are very impatient and you are winding your yarn skeins, you are you are making them into yarn cakes. When you are not in a good mood, it might be a challenge or a fight or a disaster. And I was very proud. I felt that it was not the right moment. Most of the time I realize that when I'm in the middle of the fight, but not that time. I just wanted to grab some ready-to-go yarn balls. And I do have some DK weight too, but I wanted to knit with lead lopi. And lead lopi is a worsted weight, so it's thicker yarn, but I really wanted to use this one. I chose my charcoal color. I had enough in stash because I had no idea. I realized I wouldn't need much, but I had no idea how much I needed. These are 50-gram yarn balls, and this is color 52. Yeah, a very dark gray color. So I checked, I bought the pattern, I checked the amount of stitches you needed to cast on, and I compared them with other garments I made in worsted weight yarn, and I realized when I would go for the smallest size, which is called extra small, I guess, instead of the size small, I don't know how she calls the sizes. I did write down extra small in my knitting book, so I think the next size is small. I actually needed that size, but because this is a worsted weight yarn and the amount of stitches, I decided to go down one size. It's not, success is not guaranteed. When you are picking a thicker yarn as recommended, just go down one size. It might work, but there's also quite a chance it will not work. So I did knew that, and I always ask myself the question, what is the worst thing that can happen? And in this case it was that it completely would fail and the fit would not make sense and I would have spent time knitting for nothing. And I always check, are you okay with it when that happens? Because of course it's a small chance that it will happen. But checking if I am okay with that, and when the answer is yes, okay, I can play. So my answer, is it answer or answer? Is it British and US English? I don't know. My answer was yes, and I could play. So I cast it on and started. You knit in a round, it's bottom up. I cast it on the stitches, and then you do some increases, quite a lot of increases. You can see this little blousey effect. Quite some increases in the first round after the ribbing. I used my knitting calculator for that because the pattern is telling you spread your increases evenly. I am not very good in knitting mathematics, so I don't even know the word. I can figure out how I can spread them evenly, but it would be quite time consuming. So I always use knitting calculators for that, and they are really helpful. I have the link, I added the link to my Ravelry project page, so if you are curious you can find it there. And then you are just knitting in a round, must stitch. It's very easy, very nice, and at some point you are knitting the back and the front pieces separately. I had all the needles in my work at that point because you can put it on waste yarn, of course, but I put it on double pointed needles. I really love that, so you can just pick it up. It's more, also it's time consuming, so it was really nice. I made a mistake. I followed the pattern extra small also for the length for the front pieces, but that was not a good idea because the length, it doesn't change. It's not that the pattern is telling you how many rows you need to knit, but it says how many centimeters you need to knit. And I should have followed the small size pattern for that. So it's a little bit on the short side. And when I discovered that, I already had knit the ribbing for the armholes, and I was checking, do I want to fix it? And I didn't. But it's a little bit tight under the armholes. But it's okay. It's okay because the other ways, this is the perfect length for me. And when I would add a centimeter, this would be better, but also this would be less better. So I decided to leave it this way. When I picked up stitches for the armhole, the first try I picked up 10 stitches less than the pattern recommended, but it was really gaping right here. There was too much fabric, and it can be because of the worsted weight yarn. It was really not looking flattering, so I ripped out the ribbing, and again I picked up less stitches, and now I have 30 stitches less than the pattern recommended. That's quite a difference, but now it holds up better. It's still a little bit, there's too much fabric here. But it's okay, it's wearable. Let me see. I also knitted 5 rounds of ribbing instead of 3. That also creates a little bit extra fabric under the armholes. But when I did knit 3 rounds of ribbing, as the pattern told me, I thought, no, that's too less. I need more ribbing. I love the look of more ribbing, so I did do that. It's a fake button band. It was my first. It is really a lovely way of creating this button band detail without knitting back and forth. I think for this pattern it wouldn't make a big difference to knit back and forth, but if you are knitting color work or whatever, it can be more comfortable to knit only in the round. And this was a fun way. I did doubt if I would add it, because without the button band it also looked nice as a very basic garment, an extra woolly layer, but in the end I did do it, and I'm very happy I did. It was really easy to do, and it gives it a very lovely detail. I didn't sew it down as a pattern set, I just put on some buttons, and yeah, it gives a little bit of a natural effect. Some of my friends did knit this vest back and forth, so you can open it and close it. That now you have to put it over your head, and I don't mind, but I can imagine that the opportunity to open it can be very nice too. So that's a quite easy modification, I guess. I did add very tiny small buttons out of my button stash. The upper button is a little bit, it's not on the right place. It should be a little bit more to the left, and I think a little bit lower. But it isn't bothering me enough to spend some time. It will be done in 5 minutes, but still. So it is still there. And the buttons were from an old dress. I had a lovely dress, not handmade, with wooden buttons, but there were some stains on the dress I couldn't remove, so I tried to dye the dress, but the sewing thread was with an amount of polyester, I guess, so it didn't catch the dye. So it was looking very weird, so I decided to, yeah, I knew that could happen, and I was okay with it. But it really happened. So, and then I cut off the buttons, and it are wooden buttons, but they did catch the dye, so they are very dark right now. And yeah, I think the size, they are very tiny, and yeah, it's lovely. I did put all the information in my knitting book. Oh yeah, I did weigh my garment. I always do that lately. I use our kitchen scale, and I put a little basket on it because the weight of the garment is spread in the right way. And normally I do weigh it before I block it and before I add buttons, but yeah, those buttons, they don't weigh anything. And the total amount was 100... No, not the total amount. The total weight of this garment is 149 grams. So with only 3 50-gram yarn balls worsted weight, I could knit this whole garment. That's a very lovely idea. Yeah, I also did draw my garment. I used to print pictures, take pictures. I did do that for Instagram, and then print them and put them in my knitting book. But the step between taking pictures and printing them and putting them in my knitting book, there were too many steps, too big steps, and just make a simple drawing. I'm not a drawer. My knitting book is really a good exercise in my imperfectionism, and I really love drawing, and I really love my imperfect drawings. I think they are very nice and they are very helpful because they tell me all the information about measurements, and when I will knit this garment or a likely garment again, I can use this information very well, I guess. So the only thing I forgot was my gauge. That's quite new. I'm not a swatcher, and I never check my gauge afterwards, but I think it might be very helpful for my knitting knowledge, my personal knitting knowledge, which gauge I have with which needles and which yarn. And just not knowing is not knowing, but it can be very helpful information to put in my knitting book when you cast on another garment, and you can check, oh, what was my gauge with that one? And yeah, so I have to do that later today. I am a very relaxed knitter, and I used needle 3.25 for the ribbing and 3.75 for the moss stitch. And I was surprised about, yeah, it was quite loose, the fabric I knitted, but it makes it a very lovely garment. And again, I don't know if I would recommend doing it with worsted weight yarn, but I am very happy, so I would do it again, but I think it's better in DK weight yarn. I don't know, no, I do know, I would recommend the pattern, but this was my first experience, I guess, with something I already heard other people telling about, that Scandinavian patterns can be a little bit not so detailed. And I heard other people telling about that in Scandinavian countries, knitting is such a common thing. They assume you to know, but I didn't know when I was a beginner knitter, and now I do know. But at some points I thought, when there was just a little bit of extra information, it would be so helpful. For example, when you are picking up the stitches for the front pieces and the back piece, for me it would be very helpful when in the design I could see if I was working on the right side or the wrong side. It was not there, that information, and it made it a little bit complicated for me. I'm not a beginner knitter. It is absolutely not a hard pattern. It's a very easy plain garment, but I would have loved that extra information. But I absolutely recommend the pattern because it's a lovely garment and it's a quick garment. And I will cast on my second one tomorrow. I have no time today, but tomorrow. This is one of my 2 skeins of fingering weight yarns together. It's a very lovely one. It's also a special one. And I am now in the mood for winding up yarn, so I think we can manage. This is hand-dyed yarn by a Dutch dyer. Her name is Marianne and her company is called Atelier Lindelicht. I will link it down below. And the yarn is gifted to me. Marianne gifted the yarn to me at the end of the Knit to Purl To festival. And it was very special because the colorway she dyed, it was a little bit of a theme for me while organizing Knit to Purl To. Marianne, she finds inspiration for her yarn dyeing in gemstones. I love gemstones too. I don't know anything about gemstones, but I love them. This colorway is called Tiger Eye. It's a very beautiful one. The yarn is merino yarn, and there is some more information. I don't know what it means, so I have to check, Marianne. It's 80% NSW 18.5 micron merino. And I was wondering, is NSW New Zealand something? New Zealand? And the micron is the thickness of the... I don't know. I will check. And 20% linen, so it makes it you can knit socks with it. But I think it's really it's a really lovely feeling also for a summer garment because of the merino combined with the linen. And it's really the dye did catch in a certain way. It gives it some deep thickness. Yeah, I really love it. And the linen, you can see the linen shines through. I love that. The Tiger Eye. At the festival I received a bracelet, a Tiger Eye bracelet. I have a lot of bracelets. This one. This one. And I don't know from who, because it was a very busy day and someone put a little package in my hand, in my basket actually. And when I unpacked it at home later, I discovered it was a Tiger Eye bracelet. And it was very special to me because on the same day I received the Tiger Eye bracelet from my husband. Oh, here it is. This is also Tiger Eye, and I had a little present for Lerke, Jana and Inga, who visited Knit to Purl To. They were our guests and I knew they would have limited package for traveling, so I bought a tiny Tiger Eye gemstone for them. And the Tiger Eye, it has many meanings, but I catched one word to the Tiger Eye gemstones, and that was courage. And in that time, around organizing Knit to Purl To, I really needed courage. I really lost courage every now and then, but courage was a theme. So catch it into a gemstone, and even better, catch it into yarn is really special. So I can't wait to cast on my second Hobbiton vest in this lovely colorway. Yeah, I will do that tomorrow. Okay, I think this was enough about the Hobbiton vest. Yeah, I will show it a little bit better. I don't know, maybe I already did, but I will show it a little bit better, the fit. I forgot to tell, I realize now, that because I missed 1 centimeter, it is, do you see the seam of my dress? I would love to cover it, yeah, with some extra length. It would be over my seam in my dress, and at the front the same. It is, the back is lower, the back of my dress is lower than the front, but yeah, it's really nice to have it a little bit longer. And also it's on the short side to wear on a skirt right now. I think when I would have followed the pattern better, it would be good on the skirt, but now it's a little bit on the short side. So second chance. I don't regret. I won't modify it. I won't redo it because it's good how it is. But my second one, I will take all the knowledge with me. I hope I won't forget, because that's what I do. But that's why it's so important to cast it on immediately, so all the things are fresh in my head. Okay, let's go to the Bubblelicious. Okay, time for some bubbles. I am wearing the Bubblelicious sweater. It's a design from Veronica Lindberg, also known as Kutovakika. She's a Finnish knitting designer, and this is my second design, I think. The second one I knit from her. My first one was the Arctic Light. It was also for my youngest girl. She's a fan of the designs from Veronica. I love them too. It is not really my style to wear, although now I am wearing it. I love it. It is not my sweater, but I think showing off a garment works better with someone in it, and I'm the only option, so you have to do it with me. Yeah. I don't know if I really would wear these kinds of garments, but I really love to knit them. There's happening so much. It's not boring for a moment, because all the things and the patterns can be quite overwhelming in the beginning, because there is happening so much, and all the different charts, and I really have to keep my knitting administration very updated to not get confused about where I am in the pattern. But it is so much fun. The patterns are really clear, I guess, really well described, although they are quite complicated. They look quite complicated. The fun thing is, in the beginning, I have to pay attention so much, but in the end I just knitted it away without any pattern or any chart. I could just do it by head, because the repetitions are oh my gosh. The repetitions repeat all the time. So really lovely. I must confess, when my daughter asked me to knit those bubble sweater for her, I thought, do I like bubbles? Do I like knitting bubbles? I think it's a good advice when you decide to knit this sweater. You have to make the appointment with yourself that you love knitting bubbles, because otherwise you're crazy. Why should you knit so many bubbles if you don't like them? I did follow the bubbles as Veronica described in her pattern, and later I saw in my Arctic Light notes that I used another bubble method, and which suited me better. I did forget. That's what I always do. I find all the clever ways and then I forget when I when I need them next time. But I must confess, it was okay. It was okay to knit the bubbles this way. The only thing is that they can be a little bit loose. Some loose stitches, I don't know if you can see it, in front of the bubbles, and in the pattern is there is also described a description of a way how you can fixate your bubbles. And I started doing that in the beginning, and I thought, let me keep track of the fixation process because it's quite time consuming. There will be a lot of bubbles, and when I do it afterwards it gets boring. But at some point I lost my motivation, and I thought, my daughter is very creative and she can knit her own sweater, so she can fixate her own bubbles if she wants to. And she looked at the bubbles and she said, oh, I think they are fine without that fixation. And then I thought, okay, then I think they are fine too. I think they look better when you fixate them. But it's her sweater, I don't complain. The other thing is I forgot 2 bubbles at one point. Can you see them? Here. I think it's the only point where I forgot to bubble. And the same, I kind of panicked. No, not really panicked. That sounds a little bit dramatic. But I thought, oh no! It was at a point I absolutely wouldn't go back, or that was way too complicated. So I was already thinking of making afterwards bubbles. Somehow that must work. But again, my daughter said, you hardly see it, so it's not a problem. I get imperfection lessons from my own children every now and then. Very helpful, very inspiring. So we have a little mistake, but it's no problem when you hardly see it. I didn't check if I forgot bubbles on another place. When you don't know, you don't know. Yeah, where shall I start? I decide to use the recommended yarn. It is Knitting for Olive Merino, 2 strands. Hold together with, where do I have it? I hardly have, oh, it's in front of me. With 1 strand of mohair, so you knit together with 3 strands. This is Knitting for Olive. My girl chose the color bottle green. The first try, in the beginning, she did choose another color to knit together with the bottle green. And maybe you know, but at the website of Knitting for Olive, you can find all the combinations they think color-wise will work. Because you can combine all the colors, of course, but yeah, with the color theory, not everything matches in a good way. And they put some options on their website which colors you can match. So when you pick a color, then there are several options which you can combine it with. And this was an option, and I don't know why. Both colors are really beautiful, but together, I swatched, and yeah, it gives a little bit of a marled effect. And when you knit a plain sweater with all over stockinette, I can imagine that it might be fun. But for such a busy pattern with all the cables, all the bubbles, all the things happening, it gets quite messy. So I was disappointed I wouldn't knit this one, and my daughter agreed. So we could change the mohair at our local yarn store and combine it with the same color. This is both bottle green. It looks a bit different, but it is the same colorway. The only problem was that there were not enough soft silk mohairs in stock. So we had one, it was not a skein, a yarn ball, 1 yarn ball less than we needed. And I thought, let's just try. It is by far the most expensive sweater I ever knitted, and that is quite exciting. I don't mind spending money on yarn, but I'm very curious how it will hold up, if it will be worth that's a hard word for me to pronounce, worth. We don't have that in Dutch. Sometimes I did knit with expensive yarns and they didn't hold up. They were just not worth it. And I hope this will be. This is the first non-superwash. I was thinking, is the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair also a non-superwash? I think so, but I'm not sure. The merino is. Yeah, I did swatch. Where's my swatch? I had all the things next to me, but I just filmed my Dutch episode and I don't know. Apparently I just threw it all away. Oh, it is on my lap. I swatched with only the merino to check the color and I loved it more. I had the right stitch gauge with 2 strands of merino, and when I had the right color soft silk mohair, I decided to use the same needles. I didn't go up one needle size because this was looking quite loose already, and although it was the right gauge, I'm a loose knitter, I'm a relaxed knitter. I didn't want it to be more loose, and I didn't swatch with the mohair because I thought I have 1 ball less than I need, so don't spoil any yarn on swatches, and we don't always like swatching. So it was a good excuse. So I did cast on the sweater. This is a top-down sweater, a dropped shoulder. The shoulder is quite low. You cast on the stitches for the back and then you knit and then you pick up stitches for the front and for the other front and then you join in the round. And in the beginning there is happening a lot and I had all the administration as I told. I have to mark every row to not get confused, and even then I did get confused sometimes. At some point when I was here, I mostly do that. I first knitted the sleeves, so I am sure that the sleeves have the right length. I think it's better to have the right length sleeves and a little bit of a shorter body when you are playing yarn chicken than when your sleeves are too short. My daughter is a little bit smaller than I am, so the sleeves are halfway her hands, exactly the length she wants them to be. My head is going faster than my mouth, certainly in English. My head is going in Dutch. I don't know, do I think in Dutch or in English? I don't think at all. Okay, the sleeves were a thing because Veronica did make the promotion picture for her pattern in a sweater she was wearing while she was pregnant in several sizes bigger than the recommended E size for her bust circumference. So she had a really big sweater with really wide sleeves, and she does mention it in the pattern description, but my girl, she had the picture in her head of those big comfy sleeves. And when I did knit the first sleeve, it was looking so narrow. There are 2 sleeve options. No, that's not true. There are several sizes. I don't know how many sizes the pattern has, but the smaller sizes have the smaller sleeve and the bigger sizes have the bigger sleeve. So 2 sleeve options, but I could have knit the bigger size. I could have easily picked up enough stitches for the bigger sleeve. But when I finished the first sleeve, we were really doubting because it was looking so narrow, certainly compared with the rest of the sweater. The body is quite, as you can see, the dropped shoulder is quite low, so there's quite some positive ease right there. And we had our doubts, and when I was picking up stitches for the second sleeve, for one moment I thought, shall I knit the bigger sleeve? But I didn't do that because then I had to rip out this one and re-knit it. And also, yeah, I was quite unsure if I had enough yarn, if I would have enough yarn. So we decided not to, and I thought, okay, if she doesn't like the fit, I will fit it. I would never pick a design from Veronica, such a sweater. I would never thought, oh, that's nice for my wardrobe. But every time I did fit it in between, I thought, oh, that's nice for in my wardrobe. So that was quite funny. I must confess that the sleeves did block out really well. I know it is merino yarn, so it can grow after blocking. And I stretched it out. I think I showed it last week. I stretched it out quite hard. I pinned it on my blocking mat, and it really it really worked out fine. Again, my girl's a little bit smaller than I am, and the sleeves are perfect for her now. The whole sweater has the perfect size. I was also a little bit worried about the flowiness of the fabric. It felt quite tight, but I did know that merino can grow during the blocking process and during wearing. And I'm very happy that I didn't go up a needle size, because after blocking it has the perfect drape. It is very flowy, and it is tied in a nice way. So, a very lovely knit. I must confess I was quite surprised how quickly I finished it. I started on December 6, 2024, and I had the feeling that I knit on it forever, but I finished it in a little bit more than 2 months, and from those 2 months there were quite some weeks I didn't touch it. I had the flu when I was knitting on this, and my brain was so busy with no, it was not busy at all, but my brain was not capable of knitting such a complicated pattern. I could only knit stitches, so I didn't touch it for 3 weeks and even more in between. So that made this sweater as quite a quick knit, and I cannot really get it because it was not a quick knit. It didn't feel as a quick knit. It didn't knit quick because some needles, all the things are happening, all the cables, all the bubbles. It's not a quick knit, and I'm not a quick knitter. I do knit a lot, but I'm also not a slow knitter, but yeah, that was quite surprising. But really fun, and really, I've really enjoyed knitting this sweater. And I do have the latest book of Veronica, Knits to Wear. And yeah, again, I don't know if I would really wear those knits, although I saw some lovely designs. But my youngest girl, she's really a fan. And also here, this is a little bit of a same construction. And I had so much pleasure knitting this sweater. There are not only complicated sweaters in this pattern. There are, oh, I love this one too. There are also more easy and plain patterns. So there are all kinds of things, and I'm really happy with this one. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you two more actually. I really love this one, but it's a round yoke, so I have to think about that. And I don't know if she has short rows in it. And there was a cardigan, the limoncello cardigan. There's also a garter stitch cardigan I really love, but the limoncello cardigan, this one it is, I love too. Because there are also happening a lot of things with cables and lace, and I think this would be a garment that I wear. And I don't know if it's bottom up or top down, but certainly when it's top down, yeah, it's top down. I can quit earlier. I make it shorter so it fits on a dress. She's wearing it on a pair of jeans, but I don't wear jeans mostly, so I can make it a little bit shorter. That would be fun. Okay, tot zover I wanted to say, but that's Dutch. So far, a completed sweater, a happy kit, and I have enjoyed this knitting pattern so much. I absolutely recommend her patterns. She has all the nice tutorials, and she has the talent to describe complicated stitch patterns very easy and well. Although I don't think this is really a beginner thing. It would have driven me crazy when I was a beginner knitter. But yeah, if you want it, you can do it. So yeah, even as a beginner, I guess. But it can be a challenge. Okay, yeah, and I am working on all the nice things, but I will tell you all about it next week. You can see a little bit of my Nordic Bloom Kalidas vest. I am really having fun with that one. I did stick it, I cut it, and now I have to finish the stick, and then the garment is ready, so I can show it next week, I guess. And I'm also back on track with my light bright I think I can finish that this week too. And I have all the ideas for all the new cast-ons and I'm really in a good knitting flow. Yeah, I want to wish you a very nice week, a very good week. I hope you have enough heart jumping moments. If you can find them, create them, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye!